Welcome to the short session on how to conduct probation reviews. In this session, we'll consider why we need to use probationary reviews for new starters, and then look at the process at the 4-week milestone and the 8-week milestone. We'll then turn our attention to looking at probation reviews on Kronos before finishing the session by looking at what to do if you need to extend the probation period. If you have any doubts about the necessity of using probation reviews for new employees, consider this recent research finding. 18% of new recruits fail probation. So without a probationary period, almost a fifth of your team could become underperformers. Probation can be broadly defined as a trial period for newly recruited colleagues. Probation periods commonly last for 3 months. It is a fixed period of time at the beginning of the employment relationship during which the new employee is exempt from some contractual items. A common reason for using probation periods is that the standard recruitment process, which usually involves a job interview or a practical assessment, isn't perfect. However thorough your process might be, you can still end up with someone who underperforms or just doesn't fit with the organisation. Probation periods give you the opportunity to assess new recruits on the job for 3 months or more. It's common for employers to discover a few weeks into the employment relationship that new starters either, number 1, don't deliver the skills or performance they promised at interview, or number 2, they have poor timekeeping or attendance, or number 3, they're a bad fit in terms of personality or organisational culture. Probationary periods allow you to manage the relationship more flexibly so you can address problems before agreeing on a full contract. When managing employees during probation, it's important to remember that although probation allows you to terminate new recruits more easily, the real aim of probation is to bring an effective employee on board. So you should make sure that you support your new employees. You should make sure that they know what's expected from them during the probation period and afterwards. You should develop the knowledge and skills needed to fulfill their new role through training and support. And you should address problems with their performance before the probation period is over. As the employee approaches 4-week service, you as the manager will receive an email prompting you to arrange a 4-week probationary review. You should use the form attached to the email to record the meeting. When complete, the form should be emailed back to HR to be stored securely. Any paper copies you have made should be destroyed, and this process will be repeated at the 8-week stage. As the employee approaches 12-week service, you as the manager will receive an email at 10 weeks prompting you to arrange a 12-week probationary review. If you have any queries or suspect you'll have any issues, you should speak to HR at this stage. The 12-week probation period ends with a review meeting between the employee and their manager. At this meeting, you can assess how well your new employee is performing, what his or her training needs are, and whether they're a good fit for the company. Probation makes this possible, and you have the option to either develop the employee or, after discussions with HR, to dismiss them. To conduct the 12-week probationary review meeting, you as the line manager will need to sign on to Kronos. So you'll need to click on the blue bell or the To Do icon. A pop-up box will appear on the screen. You will see a workflow performance review request. To start the process, click on the Review button. The next screen you will see is an overview of the performance review status for your employee. On the performance review screen, click on Entry. The next screen you'll see is the performance review entry screen, and this is where you will insert your ratings and comments. Looking at the core values section, start with attendance and timekeeping. Click on the arrow to reveal a drop-down menu of ratings. Select your rating by clicking on the option from the drop-down menu. You can choose from good, excellent, requires improvement, or satisfactory. Next, click on the free text box to the right and enter your explanation. Once you have completed the information for attendance and timekeeping, repeat this process for communication skills, teamwork, level of contribution, understanding of the role, and overall performance. The next section on the screen you will see is the core competencies section. Here there are two text boxes that need to be completed, and they are suitability and training requirements. When all of the above sections are completed, encourage the employee to enter their thoughts on their probation experience by typing in the free text box. This will give us invaluable information about their induction and probation process. The next section is to move on to the company goals and probation outcome. You need to select one option from the drop-down menu. So this could be transfer to permanent employment, extend the probationary period, or terminate employment. In the next free text box to the right, you need to add your comments here. Be careful what you enter here, as with the new General Data Protection Regulations, the employee has the right to see all information that has been collected or stored that relates to them. So base your comments on fact for this section. Once you have completed all of the sections, you should press save and then submit, and this will automatically notify HR of the completion of the review. Extending probation periods. An alternative to dismissal is to extend a colleague's probation period, thereby giving them the opportunity to improve. There is no law limiting the length of colleague probation periods. However, this time needs to be realistic enough to allow the colleague time to demonstrate that they can perform to the required standards, and also for you as a manager to be able to observe performance levels. And so a QB, if an extension to the probation period is necessary, this will be extended for another 3 months as a standard. If this is the case, you will need to speak with HR before you extend the probation period. You can extend an employee's probationary period, and there is a process on Kronos that allows you to do so. If the process is to be extended, go back to the burger menu in Kronos and then select My Employees, Performance Management, Performance Development, and these can all be accessed through the drop-down menu. In the top right-hand corner, select Assign a Personal Goal. This will take you to the next screen of Assign Personal Goal, and here you will find numerous fields for you to be able to take notes on the extension of the probationary period. In the Goal field, you must enter a personal goal, and underneath this you can set the new date for the personal goal. So for example, you could set this over 3 months, and you can select the date using the calendar to the right of the box. Underneath this is the description, and here you need to enter your description of the personal goal. So you need to consider the required improvement, any support or training that's being offered, and the necessary achievement. It's important to be specific throughout so that both you and the employee know what's expected of them at the end of this extension to the probationary period. Once you have completed this information, you should click on the category drop-down menu and select Probation Review. Once you have done this, you can then press Save. As a reminder, managers will receive an email alert at 22 weeks if the probation period was extended, and this is to remind you to fill in the probation period form. You will need to speak with HR first if you want to dismiss at the end of the probation extension. Here are some tips for preparing for and conducting the probation meetings. Many new recruits leave their job in the first few weeks and months because they've not settled in well to the team or the role. More effective probation meetings could help new employees find their feet, so here are some tips to help. The first one is to conduct regular meetings. Regular review meetings to discuss the employee's progress and any support that the employee needs should take place regularly throughout the probation period. For example, if the probation period is 3 months, the manager and employee should meet up once a month up to the end of the probation period. It's important that the review meetings are conducted before the probation period is up, as they will help the manager to make a decision about the employee's suitability for the role. If the manager fails to conduct the final meeting before the end of the probation period, the employee's role may be confirmed by default. The next tip is to be prepared. To get the most out of a probation meeting, the manager must prepare for it. This means reviewing the employee's work prior to the meeting to understand where they're progressing well and what they need to improve on. This could include talking to the employee's colleagues to obtain feedback about any progress. The manager should also think about what support the organisation could provide to help the employee's performance improve. The next tip is to provide feedback. Managers should use probationary progress meetings as an opportunity to provide feedback to an employee about where they need to improve. Regular feedback will help to ensure that the employee does not become entrenched in doing something badly and is clear about what's expected of him or her. The feedback should be clear and precise. Managers should provide specific examples of areas where the employee needs to develop their performance or correct their conduct, avoiding generalisations. Progress meetings are also an opportunity for the manager to engage the employee, so the manager should also highlight areas where the employee is doing well. The next tip is to explore problems. Managers should use review meetings to explore any issues that have cropped up, discussing these with the employee. For example, they might be finding it hard to get to grips with the technical aspects of the role or to get the tools they need for the job. It should be a two-way meeting where the manager and employee analyse problems together, including the reasons behind the issues, and come up with a plan of action to address them. The next tip is to set the right tone. It's important for managers to set the right tone during a probationary review meeting. Getting carried away and assuming a disciplinary stance can be off-putting for the employee, so the emphasis should be on supporting the employee. The manager should be tolerant. The employee can't be expected to get everything right straight away. They will in many cases need to learn new processes and systems before he or she can get up to speed with the job. Even when addressing concerns, the manager should discuss these fully and openly with the employee and deliver any criticism in a constructive way. It's best to use positive words such as improvement rather than negative words associated with failure. The next tip is to encourage open dialogue. A probationary period is more likely to be successful if the employee is being given plenty of opportunity to raise issues and ask questions about the working environment. Often the employee may be nervous about asking for help, particularly if it's about something they've already been shown. Therefore, during each meeting, the manager should make clear that the meeting is a two-way street to raise issues and for them to work together to find ways to ensure that the employee will be happy and successful in the role. One way of creating an open dialogue is for the manager to ask open questions. So these are the questions that start with who, where, what, why, when, and how. The manager should also listen actively to what the employee has to say. The next tip is to agree an action plan. The manager should ensure that at every probationary review meeting, they devise a written plan with the employee, including points to action following the meeting. For example, they might agree a plan for giving the employee support and guidance, such as formal classroom-based training or informal training from colleagues, or that the employee needs to work on a particular task to improve his or her performance in a certain area. There should be a deadline for completion of these action points, such as the next review meeting. The final point is to make a record. During probationary progress meetings, the line manager should make a record of what is said and agreed and ask the employee to check it and confirm that it's an accurate summary of the meeting. This record will serve as a reminder for both parties at the next review meeting of the issues that needed to be addressed. It can also help to propel a colleague into action following the meeting to work on the points they have agreed. A record will also provide evidence that the organisation raised underperformance or conduct issues with the employee should the need arise to discipline or performance manage them at a later stage. If you have any further queries or need further help on managing probations, please email the HR inbox. This probation process only applies to Ireland and the UK. Thanks for watching this session on how to conduct probation reviews.